So, what would you little maniacs like to do first?
She's alive! Alive! Weird science!
1985 was another summer where there was too many good films to choose from. Rambo was back, James Bond was back, Mad Max was back, and the Brat Pack had another runaway success. The Goonies were on the case, as was Fletch. Cocoon brought in the older crowd, while Back to the Future brought in everyone. And Helen Slater did a slam dunk in The Legend of Billie Jean, recovering from 1984's horrific Supergirl. Nearing the month of August, it was time to slow down the summer and get ready for school, but that did not happen. Like most months in the 80s, tons of iconic and memorable films just kept flowing in. On the first weekend of August, Sesame Street tried for theaters with Follow That Bird. It performed poorly because the competition at that time was just too great. There was just too many fun movies to choose from. The awesomely unique Fright Night showed it had legs by beating out Weird Science for the number 3 spot. It would go on to make $24.9 million. Weird Science opened at the number 4 spot behind the reigning juggernaut Back to the Future and National Lampoon's European Vacation. Eventually, it would rake in $23.8 million. The next weeks would make it really difficult for Weird Science to maintain a top spot, as films like Real Genius, My Science Project, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Summer Rental would really push comedies and scientific nerd themes. By its third week, Weird Science really lost momentum when Return of the Living Dead, Year of the Dragon, and Volunteers entered the market. At the time, Weird Science was just another fun teen film, and it was the norm.
It's a real shame when folks be throwing away a perfectly good white boy like that.
I remember seeing Weird Science at Southwick Mall AMC theaters, and since I was one of the nerdy, socially awkward boys the movie was targeted for, I had zero problems enjoying it for what it was. Right from the start, the two Roberts who play Max and Ian were raring to go every shot. Every take, they were begging to start bullying. And in the first shot, they embarrassed the boys in front of the entire girls' gym at Shermer High School. For our first deleted scene, Gary is staying over for the night, and like the early script, they are not impressed by the Frankenstein film. They are trying miserably to cook some food, and Gary takes a stack of pizzas and throws them in the microwave while Wyatt is burning his popcorn. We would then cut to them in the room where Wyatt is eating what looks like burnt popcorn. Gary has nothing, most likely since he tried to cook pizzas with their wrappers on. Since the deleted scene really doesn't offer much, it was best cut. As for the bedroom scene, when Gary mentions his girlfriend in Canada, it was a direct Easter egg to the character he played in Breakfast Club.
I've laid lots of times. Name one. She lives in Canada. Met her at Niagara Falls. You wouldn't know her.
Now, if you notice, there are holes in Gary's shirt. This seems like nothing but a continuity error, as in the next scenes you see his shirt without holes. However, if you remember in the very first scene, you see Gary's socks, which are slightly mismatched, but have holes in them as well. From this we can deduce that Gary either doesn't care about his appearance, or comes from a family with less resources than the very rich Wyatt, whose family has a maid.
Try not to make a mess in there, Gary. The maid doesn't come till Monday.
We will later see Gary's house, which doesn't seem terribly poor, but it's not a palace, so believe what you will on this one. The computer scenes in the movie make no sense, but who cares? It's dated, it's fun, and let's move on. Lisa is actually named after Apple's first GUI computer called the Lisa Apple. The question as to what Lisa is was not a thing I ever asked, but in 1994 the television show with Vanessa Angel as Lisa tried to explain that she was actually a genie. The show would go on for 5 seasons and actually had Bruce Campbell as Gene the Genie in one of the episodes. I did not really get into the show because I don't like recasting main characters. Technically, the show is considered canon by many, so take it as you will. Of course, Lisa is not naked in the shower scene. She is actually wearing a bikini and some black tape to cover her privates. When Wyatt is in his Sunday suit, Gary must resort to putting on Chet's preppy suit. The clothes are clearly oversized, and this is noted in the film.
Okay, but don't get any BO on Chet's suit, or he'd kill me.
Now, there was a deleted sequence where the boys are in these old suits sitting in the room. They each had a roll's worth of quarters in their pockets, and they would nervously jingle them, worried about what they would do with Lisa. The concept was humorous to both leads, but it did not feel right where it was. Later in the film, this would be done during the party, when Hilly and Deb go into the bathroom with the boys. The Kandy Bar Club owner, Dino, is played by John Capellos. If you recognize Capellos, it's because he was the husband-to-be in 16 Candles and the janitor in Breakfast Club. Chino Fats Williams makes a cameo in this film, and he was a famous bit part actor who appeared in such films as Rocky 1, 2, and 3, The Terminator, Action Jackson, Roadhouse, Iron Eagle, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and House Party. Another super cool cameo is made by the great Steve James from American Ninja and I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Just you 57 punks against Kung Fu Joe, master of karate, and all other shit you ain't never heard of.
As for Anthony Michael Hall speaking jive, there is nothing offensive about it. It was inspired by a Richard Pryor skit called Mudbone and done to honor that actor.
You know, I knock on the door, tippity-tap, tippity-tap. And she opened the door and she flew it open, you know, and the funk rushed out the house like this. Damn near knocked me to my knees.
Bill Paxton got his military cut by his own initiative. When he went into the makeup trailer for the first day, he wanted an intense haircut, and thus he got the military cut. Luckily, John Hughes loved it. When Paxton catches Gary being drunk, he taunts Gary by saying,
"How about a nice, greasy pork sandwich served in a dirty ashtray?"
This line was used by Bill Paxton's real father, who said it to him one night while he was hungover from a night of drinking. Most of the lines used in this film were improvised and based on things Paxton had heard in real life. Elin Mitchell Smith was 14 at the time of filming, and he got carried away kissing Kelly LeBrock, who was 24. He stuck his tongue in her mouth, and Kelly responded by saying, "If you ever do that again, I'm going to kick your ass." There are lots of fourth wall breaking moments in John Hughes films, and Weird Science is no exception. First off is Gary looking at the camera after seeing what Wyatt is dressed in during the morning, and when Chet is telling Wyatt about wearing a bra on his head. Robert Russler said that the mall scenes where he dumps the slushie on our heroes' heads was the first professional acting scene he had ever done. The mall scenes were also the first scenes LeBrock would do for the film. She said she was nervous because the crew had been working on the film for 3 weeks before she got there, and she felt like an outsider. A funny but inconsequential detail is Lisa's shirt, which says, "Big Brother is watching you." Now, a thing to notice in the mall is a group of nerdy-looking teens who are actually nicknamed the Weenies. These kids are kind of outcasts in their high school and are friends with Wyatt. At the end of the group, you can see Renee Prop, who played Babette Prop. This was the person who fell victim to Robert Downey Jr.'s prank of pooping in her trailer. Downey came clean in an interview with Playboy in 1997. "I defecated in a fellow castmate's trailer, much to the chagrin of Bill Paxton and Robert Russler. It was a real bad scene. Joel Silver freaked. I never admitted it." Now, a subtlety often unnoticed is that Lisa changes instantly between shots. When she is lecturing Wyatt to relax and get dressed for the party, there is a panning shot and you can see she decided to change in a blink of an eye. During the party scenes, Bill Paxton is in one of the shots somewhere. He admitted that he wanted to feel the chaos on the set during the sequence and snuck onto the set disguised in sunglasses, a trench coat, and a hat. I have not been able to find him yet, but he is there somewhere. During the party, there was deleted footage continuing the story of the Weenies. They come to the party wanting to be near their friend Wyatt and expect to be expelled because they are not socially accepted. When everyone wants them to leave, Lisa invites them in and she gives them lots of attention, which I thought should have been left in the film because it shows that Lisa is constantly a champion for those who are not accepted, as if it's her mission in life to help them. Now this is a rowdy, disrespectful bunch at the party, and they don't respect much of Wyatt's house. The aftermath should tell you as much. When the girls go upstairs, they pass a picture of Wyatt's family, which has already been defaced by graffiti. Later, we return to see Lisa specifically giving attention to the Weenies over all others at the party, and they are all smiles, including Babette. It makes sense that Lisa would be in these folks' corner because they are friends of Wyatt, and that's their motivation for being there.
We're Wyatt's friends. Can we come to the party or should we just bail?
No, come in. Come on. Really?
There was also other footage shot with the Weenies, which entailed them doing some kind of performance, perhaps overcoming their social stigmas and impressing folks. None of this was in the script, though, so it's possible it was just outtakes. If you look close at the back of the group, there is a weenie that is the spitting image of John Cryer in Pretty in Pink. When the missile came up in Wyatt's bedroom, it was an expensive shot that was reported by some to cost about $100,000 to make, as the missile was on hydraulics, with floors and material made to break through. When action was called out, one of the four actors farted very loudly, and it is debated if it was intentional or not. Robert Russler claims it was Anthony Michael Hall, while Hall and Smith claims it was one of the Roberts who were constantly messing around. The moment broke the actor's concentration and the shot was ruined. To rectify this, they lowered the missile and shot the scene backwards, making it clear no screw-ups could happen this time. In the blue kitchen scene, between takes, everyone was preparing for the next shot, and John Hughes decided to nibble on a spray-painted potato chip. The crew noticed him doing this and said he shouldn't do that, and then John ate some more to get people laughing and having fun. Afterwards, Elon came up to John and said, "Why did you do that?" And John said, "Anything for a laugh." The entire crew noted that he was this way during filming all the time. He wanted his team to have fun and relish what they were doing. They played music together, and John often took his cast and crew places together so they would enjoy what they did. Playboy model Kim Malin was the girl behind the piano, and she was a Playmate of the Month. She performed her own stunts while a wind turbine ripped off her clothes, and then a crane propelled her into the water. After the bullies flee the party, there was a scene where they ended up in a cloud that turned them into a pig and a donkey. They bent over to look at their image in hubcaps, and tails ripped through their pants. It was cut mainly due to Joel Silver, who thought the moment detracted from the later transformation scene where Chet is turned into the doo-doo monster. Now, fans of The Road Warrior should remember Vernon Wells, who played the baddie Wes in the film. Wells didn't want to do the part at first because it was too similar to Wes, but he really liked John Hughes and thought it might be fun. When I met John, that was it. At the time, I didn't think much about it, but that movie has gone on to give us so many great actors who went on to become major stars, like Bill Paxton and Robert Downey Jr. In Weird Science, he literally reprises his role, and it is on record by some of the filmmakers it was on purpose. Despite this, the credit is stated as Lord General. It was Vernon's first time in America for a film, and he was stunned by the size of the production. He was used to budget filmmaking, not studio films. Joel Silver really liked him and asked him if he would try out for the part in a new movie he was producing called Commando. Vernon met the director but failed to land the part. I went back to Australia. I did a film there, and I was also doing a lot of DJ work too. I got home one morning and a friend of mine was standing at the front door with a message to call Joel Silver right away. I didn't want to as I was tired, but he insisted. Joel said there was a ticket in my name waiting for me at the airport because the person they had lined up for Commando didn't work out. When I got to the States, I pretty much went straight to the wardrobe department to get a costume made. Then I got a few hours sleep and we started filming right away. One of the Weenies gets bullied pretty rough by the bikers during their invasion. At first he avoids a hit, but the second time he gets hit pretty hard. The impact of this person getting bullied loses its relevance since the Weenies were cut so much from the film. Now, a scene I still can't conclusively understand to this day is right here. Renee Props is standing in a beautiful dress which is completely different than her weenie garb. I keep wondering if there was a Cinderella tale going on in this movie that was not fleshed out. I couldn't find anything on this, so there's a good chance I'm mistaken. When Chet arrives home, his reaction is completely justified, regardless of the fact that he's a bully. When he finds Gary and Deb, you can see Hall wincing in anticipation for the hit from the barrel. You can actually see the rubber gun barrel bending when it hits their heads. When Chet finds his grandparents, you can see the four actors in the background trying to keep their composure, as the atmosphere on set was just hilarious at the moment. Anthony Michael Hall completely loses character, and Suzanne can be seen ribbing him during the take. When Gary is taking Deb home, Anthony Michael Hall was not allowed to drive the car for insurance reasons. As a result, there is an obvious stunt driver seen in the vehicles. There were two little people inside the doo-doo monster costume because Paxton was too claustrophobic to do it himself. In retrospect, Weird Science would not be made today, and it's no surprise that it's a cult classic. The film was targeted to teen boys and their fantasies. You can argue that some of those fantasies are juvenile or immature, but it is what it is. The cast all had say in the story being told, and Hughes gave them all a voice. Their talents made the film with precise comedic timing and style. It is the very reflection of what 80s cinema was. Rather than me say anything more about it, here's what the main cast had to say about it.
The 80s were great. I mean, it was a magical time. Well, I don't think the Hollywood of today was the Hollywood of yesterday. Yesterday's Hollywood was Hollywood. To me, Hollywood is not really around anymore. I think that there's some Hollywood stars, but I don't think that the films are, well, some of them are extraordinary, but...
I think that what you get in the 80s, which I really miss, is in popular movies. Not like in the ones that are going to win an Academy Award, but just like popular movies like Weird Science and my favorite, Conan.
Yeah!
You get tremendous moments of silence where the actors and the director are really letting like a scene play out. And something like nobody went to Conan thinking that there was going to be a dialogue about fatherhood and like a dark moment where he's coming to terms with it. Or a moment of like tenderness between any of our characters that happened in that movie. Because it was just expected that even in the most like box office hit, even in the most kind of popular film, you needed that, and I don't get that when I watch movies today. I don't get a sense that any scene is given really the time to play out so that you can feel something, and I miss that.
As for Weird Science's legacy, in 1994, it was turned into a television series. This series would cast Vanessa Angel as Lisa. There were 5 seasons, and stars like Denise Richards, Michael Clark Duncan, Seth Green, Adam West, and of course the previously mentioned Bruce Campbell appeared. In 2013, a Weird Science reboot was talked about with Joel Silver helming it. The premise had an R-rated script with a 3D printer making the entity this time. To date, nothing has come of this, and that's most likely for the better. There is a good chance if you saw this movie as a teen boy or experienced the 80s, It has something for you to enjoy. If you're easily offended or overly politically correct, then it's not a film I would ever recommend for you. It's a small movie with big concepts and sincere performances. This is one of the reasons I picked this film to cover, as it is fun and does not take itself too seriously. Thus, our deep dive would be shorter. The reason for this was because at the time of recording this video, we had about 30 pages of notes and Rising to sort out for Alien Resurrection, and we wanted to meet a deadline to release the first part of that series close to the release of this video. So we hope you enjoyed this short coverage of a sincerely fun-hearted film, and it's time to say goodbye to Lisa. If you like what you see here, click like and subscribe, and if you really like what you see, use super thanks.